All right, thank you, everybody. Are you guys excited? I'm like, you know, you do these panels and you try to play it cool, but I am really excited. Did anybody go out to Sweetwater today? Anybody make it out there? Don't tell me. I'm going tomorrow. Okay. We got a lot to get through. I'm not going to waste a lot of time. Let's just get them out here. So let's start with two people who know that you can't play God without being acquainted with the devil. Jonah Nolan and Lisa Joy. You know, some people choose to see the ugliness in this world. She chooses to see the beauty. Dolores Abernathy, Evan Rachel Wood. She's died a million times, and she's fucking great at it. Maeve Millay, Thandie Newton. I think there's at least a 50-50 chance that he's going to get shot before the end of this panel. Teddy Flood, James Marsden. And finally, he would have come out here earlier, but he couldn't find the door. You know him as Bern Arnold, Jeffrey Wright. See? All right. Thanks, guys. This is exciting. All right, season 2. We've been waiting for this a while. You had a little bit of downtime. How does it feel to come back to Sweetwater? What sort of preparation is it? Is it a joy to come back? Is it grueling to come back into these characters? How do you prepare yourselves to return for season 2?
I don't remember any downtime in there.
Yeah. I could not fucking wait. I literally couldn't wait. It was like, can I come home now? Really, it was just the anticipation was gigantic to come back to this show.
Yeah, it was like waiting for Christmas to come, waiting for the call when we were going to come back. But it's also daunting. It's you feel this like looming sense of dread when you're walking up to the set because we don't really get to know what's going to happen or what's in store for us. So we get really excited, and then we remember what show we're on, and we're like, oh, but none of this ends well.
I just wanted to be Maeve. I want to be her every day.
You are.
And I'm not her at all. And I just couldn't wait to just be her again. I mean that most profoundly.
We want to go
to do it. Woo!
We want to go back to work tomorrow, actually.
Okay, easy.
I'm still recovering. We just finished.
We don't have any scripts, dude.
But I want to know what happens in season 3 so badly.
All right, so let's talk about season 1. There are a lot of mysteries. A lot of the characters don't know who they are. The audience is sort of disoriented as well. A lot of those mysteries get tied up at the end of season 1. Is season 2 a different experience because you know who you are? You know, maybe the audience has a better sense of what this world is. Does that make it harder to sustain a narrative engine, or do you find new mysteries to solve? I'm guessing I kind of know the answer to this already.
Westworld is an onion. There's always more layers that you're peeling back. Every time you think you know everything, they throw something else at you that just completely changes the game. And I think we're going to see a lot of that in season 2. A lot.
Yeah, and I think they all reached their level of some level of awakening by the end of the first season, but their identities that were created for them are now being replaced with the identities that they choose to create for themselves. And I think that's something that is explored in this season, so that continues, I guess.
I found it really shocking, actually, because I was so invested in the first season, as we all were, and I felt I knew this character better than anybody. I felt that I understood her empowerment better than anybody. I felt it on a deep cellular level as well as being an artist and understanding the fun and the entertainment value of it. And I also felt like I had a grip on my own kind of existential crisis by the end of season 1. I was like, yeah, I got a handle on this. I've really got this shit down. And then season 2 came along, and it taught me a lot, because just when you think you're comfortable, just when you think you know who you are or what life is about, you have got to be destroyed again. You've got to start again. You've got to keep starting again. You've got to keep waking up. You've got to keep going, no matter how fucked up things are. You have to. And it was one of the most painful, it sounds so pretentious, oh, Jesus, but just one of the most painful things to experience via Maeve, just how tough it is to come alive, to truly come alive.
I think I had a little bit of an advantage, though, going into season 2, because the first season was very much about establishing the order of the place, the rules of the place, our understanding of who we are, the audience's understanding of who we are, where we are. And then season 2 is, it begins at the end of season 1. That's all ripped apart. That's destroyed. And then we're recreating something. We don't know. So I had a little bit of advantage going into season 2, because my place and all that was like not having a clue what the hell was going on. So I just started there. So we were very much aligned, character and actor, in that moment. Pretty much, the beginning of season 2 for Bernard is, what the fuck just happened? What was that? Okay, and we move on from there.
I feel like we kind of swapped narratives, and now you're the one that's kind of lost and figuring it out. And
me or yeah.
Well,
I think we all are a little bit, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't understand what this is like for us. We don't know what's happening. We don't. Like, we turned up at the beginning of season 2, ready to go, let's do this. We literally had no idea. We hadn't been told beforehand, not a clue. And then, episode to episode, we literally don't know what's going to happen. And I have never wanted that little control in my life. I've fought so hard to get control in my life. Personally, professionally, I'm still fucking fighting, and I'm doing quite well. And I will give it up for this show. I will say no to control. Take me, do what you want, because it is the dopest shit around.
And because of these two here, because of Jonah and Lisa,
these
it's
mad
all them.
scientists.
Yeah.
Well, so
In fact, we showed up here today for this panel just so we could see some clips.
Yes,
That's
I
why.
swear to God. I was
why we're
watching
here.
that like my butt was clenched the whole time.
So a question for Jonah and Lisa, season 1, when it ended, it felt like all the pieces fit together so immaculately. It felt like you had a plan from the beginning, and you could see where it was going in retrospect. Season 2, are you just like, okay, now what's the plan for season 2? Or did you know where season 2 was going before you started season 1?
Well, we had this beautiful moment in the beginning of this project when Lisa and I it was just ours. It was a pilot. JJ had reached out and asked if we were interested, and we'd said no, and then we thought about it and we said, wait, actually, maybe. And for 6 months, it was just ours. And we started by doing a corporate org chart and figuring out who would be in this place and what they would do. And we really felt like, TV's in a very interesting place right now in terms of what you're able to do. And you want to be open to letting the story take you where it's going to go, and open to working with incredible actors and incredible crew. But we felt like we needed a blueprint. We needed to know where this story went. The movie that it's based on is very cool. It's 92 breathless minutes of brilliant conjecture about where technology is going. But it doesn't give you a blueprint for a larger story. So for a while, this was just our thing. And we had a chance to really think about a story. We weren't really interested in doing a television series, in a sense. We wanted to treat it a little more like a film franchise, with each season like an installment. And the only way I know to do that is to change the game every season, to challenge the audience, the writers, the actors, and everyone to reinvent the show a little bit every season. So we had a blueprint. There have been some changes along the way, but for the most part, it's been very exciting to see this slowly come together in the direction we thought it would all those years ago.
I mean, I think along the way, you know, we had this blueprint of the sort of philosophical and technological and thematic things that we wanted to explore. But in working with these amazing people, you also, you know, we went back a second season incredibly excited to kind of open a door into these characters and watch what the actors brought to. And we've seen them work and we know what they're capable of and how much more they're capable of. And, you know, for me, we posit questions in this show that we don't necessarily have all the answers to, especially about character, because character is a constant struggle for reinvention and definition and self-definition, you know, and you see in Dolores, you know, she finally gets power over herself, but there's still the questions of what to do with that power, how to reconcile it, how to be a new type of heroine, you know, and Thandie's character has the same sort of conflict, and they might come to different solutions, right? She has a tug for, you know, her family that brings her back into the park, into danger at the end of the season, and the fact that there are no clear answers, no clear shoulds in their path, the vicissitudes that they have to perform to fully realize that, you know, and it's not just our female characters. You know, you have Teddy, who's this kind of quintessential gunslinger, but as we see and explore more of his character, you also see like he's not beholden to those archetypes of like the unfeeling man who's kind of just sitting there shooting people and standing for something beyond him. You know, he has this deep feeling for the people in his world and this deep heart that he's only just beginning to kind of acknowledge himself, you know, and then, you know, you have Jeffrey's character who's literally torn between two worlds, you know. He's been programmed to think he's human, but he's a host, and you see him struggling with what the right moral and personal decisions are in a landscape that is fraught with conflict, and all these characters are doing that. And I think season 2 becomes a shifting lens on, you know, where our sympathies lie, and it would not be possible without the extreme gifts and talents and generosity and depths of, you know, all these characters. So it's just a pleasure to write to and try to explore all that genius up there.
Westworld's obviously been prescient in a lot of ways, and a lot of the technologies that seemed, you know, really, really far off when you were writing this in 2014, 2015 have in fact already come to pass. And we have people like Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk warning of where this all might go. Given that AI technologies behind Westworld are becoming more and more real, what advice do you have for the creators of these technologies or the people who are using these technologies? How should we be thinking about how we develop these things to prevent the worst future?
Well, I think we'd be lucky if this was the AI apocalypse, if it was this attractive and charming. I don't think that's what we're headed for. I think, sadly, we're headed for this sort of networked artificial stupidity moment, which is what we're heading into. Algorithmic manipulation of social media and everything. I mean, we're in it now. You know, it's crept up, it's caught us. I think the thing that we were mistaken about, and that even, you know, Lisa and I had spent a lot of time thinking about this question. It never even occurred to us. You know, we were all sort of waiting for that incipient moment, that threshold you cross where AI becomes smarter than us. We flattered ourselves that AI would have to be ASI, it would have to be a super intelligence in order to blow us up. And clearly that's not the case. You don't need a very smart AI to manipulate Twitter or Facebook, or you just need some version of intent. And as you know, I think we are about to enter into a very slippery, very complicated moment in which our technologies, which to this point have served us, sometimes well, sometimes not so well, the power dynamic in that relationship is about to change. And change, we have let the genie out of the bottle. I don't, you know, I think some of the things we deal with in the show are still a long ways off, in terms of a general intelligence of a level that can simulate a person. But I think we've got a lot of challenges to deal with before we even get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Great.
Well, I will say this: if we are there's been a lot of sort of back and forth, and when we started writing the show, there were a lot of aspersions cast about people who were trying to speak up about AI and saying, hey, maybe we need an Asilomar moment. Asilomar was the famous conference where the genetic researchers stopped in the 70s and said, let's sit down and talk about this for a minute. We haven't done that with AI. We've barreled ahead. And if we're as careful at developing AI as we have been with social media, we're fucked. We're fucked.
It's the Jeff
There you have
Goldblum
it.
line in the other Crichton movie at Jurassic Park. Your scientists spent so much time wondering whether or not they could, they never stopped to think whether they should. Right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I wrote that. That was me.
I can just tell you that there were periods during the filming of the second season, my phone was freaking me out. That's all I'll say. I'll just leave that right there.
I think. Well,
Phone
I will say.
behaves in odd ways from time to time.
I will say your Twitter feed has kept, I think, a lot of us sane over the last year and a half, or maybe made us more insane. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, it's a slippery thing there.
But there is a lot of activism and boldness represented in this cast, and it feels like that's not a coincidence. Is there something about this show that draws that kind of person? Is it the themes of the show that relate to?
Well, what I love about the show is it makes you ask questions. We take so many things for granted. We hardly ask why or how or where or what am I feeling. It is actually making us all question the nature of our reality, which isn't. Sometimes things are just learned and not necessarily real. And I think, what Jonah was saying, even with social media and certain things, we're starting to question everything. And technology is paving the way for that. But I think, and it certainly made me ask questions, and it gave me a strength. I just went and testified in front of Congress, and I was wearing a locket with Dolores in it. So I would say yes, it does filter over. And she's become this kind of beacon for me of a strength I didn't know that I had. And sometimes when I doubt myself, I think, dude, you're fucking Dolores, man. You're good. And then I keep going. So I hope she does that for other people too. That's what she does with me. Good.
I did want to ask about the music in the show as well, which it's so stirring. The combination of obviously the sort of Western orchestration with the kind of 90s era music, it really accomplishes something interesting. And I guess is there a theory or a philosophy behind that?
I don't know if it was a philosophy so much as shit we like. The idea was, when Lisa and I were first thinking about the show, we knew we wanted an icon. We wanted an image that you could come back to again and again that kind of sold the show. One of my favorite shows of all time was The Prisoner, Patrick McGowan show from the 1960s. Not a lot of Prisoner fans in here, that's okay. They used the image of the penny farthing bicycle as this sort of absurdist take on antiquity, and we stumbled upon it in the player piano, which is perfect for us, because here's the original robot of the West, because you didn't always have a piano player in every Western town. We left out the one detail that most player pianos, and no one's actually called us on this, no electrification in the West. So you actually had a set of pedals, not the sustain pedal, but a set of pedals on the side of the player piano, and someone, presumably someone who's willing to work for shots of bourbon, would have to sit there and pedal the piano just so it would play. But we love the idea that we could contrast the score with bits of contemporary music that you would, like an earworm, you'd slowly start to think, wait, I think I know that song. It's all contingent entirely on our partnership with Ramin Djawadi, who's one of the most phenomenally talented composers in the whole wide world. with whom I've been working on and off since Batman Begins. And he's just an extraordinary partner for us and takes great delight not only in composing original music for the show, but in also taking our crazy ideas and turning them into, spinning them into gold. And we have some pretty exciting things that he's done for us this season.
Another question from the audience about the rabid fan base, many of whom I'm sure are represented here tonight. What influence does the fan base have on the direction of the show? And I'll ask the theory, like, were you expecting the number of podcasts and theories and the huge response that you got?
I mean, it's kind of, I guess I'm answering this question even though I'm probably the worst person to answer this question because I'm scared of social media a little bit. Like it just you're not supposed to see that many unfettered opinions of yourself or anything you do. It just goes against the natural order. So I try to stay out of it. You know, the thing is we kind of write and shoot these things before fans can react to it. So you really can't adjust on the fly to fan responses. And I think that's in a way a good thing, you know, because it's hard enough to try to hear your own creative voice and hear the creative voices of the people that you work with. You know, you hope very much that it connects with people, but I do think that a little bit of doing it in a bit of a vacuum is helpful. And I mean, you know, there are definitely themes of what we explore that are timely, you know, last season and this season with our female heroines and also the talk on technology, which is becoming more and more, you know, part of the de rigueur or part of culture. But that comes not so much from fan media as the fact that we are all humans living in this world who have witnessed and, you know, been a part of, you know, all the kind of themes that we're exploring in this. And so it kind of arose naturally and organically and just kind of dovetailed with part of the cultural conversation.
We were so struggling. First season, I think people were imagining, you know, part of it stems from other shows. True Detective had a lot of fan theories that proved to be theories. There are a lot of theories about Westworld's first season that proved to be plot twists. I think for every fan theory, we actually had an episode that dealt with it. So you know, we're figuring out how to sort of interact with that in the second season. I have a somewhat controversial plan that we're working on. We'll have an announcement about it in a couple of weeks. In terms of reading people in, I mean, one of the things that happens is very interesting with Game of Thrones is that people have read the books, and the community around Game of Thrones protects the secrets of the show in a very interesting way. So we have something that we're thinking about doing with that. But we love it. I mean, it's incredibly gratifying when you put this much work into a season of television. It's incredibly gratifying to see people put that much work, not just into deciphering the season, but the fan art, music, the creativity that you see coming back at you when you're making one of these things is extraordinary. It's beautiful. I mean, we see things daily that are brought to us. We're not on social media a lot, but we see the best of it, and it's incredibly humbling and gratifying to see.
Is there anything that you snuck in there that, to your knowledge, no one's caught yet?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Tons and tons and tons of stuff.
All right, we'll get to work. Another one for the audience here. What was the hardest, I guess this is from an acting standpoint or from a directing standpoint or writing standpoint, what was the hardest sequence to work on? Was there one that really stands out as the most challenging?
Season 1 or 2?
I'd love to hear from season 2, but
season 1. I was
probably
like, I don't think we can talk.
The cave. Remember that cave, Jeffrey?
Cave was pretty funky.
Yeah. That's so fun.
There was a lot of.
Yeah, let's talk about my wife directing her very first episode this season.
You.
I saw the first day's dailies and I thought, oh, she's as good at this as she is at everything else. It's extraordinary. It's a bloodbath.
And she's incredible. That it's like you're 19 hours into your day and she's still laughing. And we're all like, wow, oh God. And she defers to laughter. It's really cool while she's like, get to work. It's at the same time.
And then she goes home and breastfeeds her baby, who was like
Yeah.
6 months old when you were shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
You were talking.
we all kind of did that. But
So you were talking about things, the Reddit side of things, and trying to discover kind of Easter eggs or, fluorescent breadcrumbs, however you want to describe them. I actually went back and watched the pilot not too long ago, and just to see where we had begun, and there are things there.
So many clues.
There are a lot of things there.
We're all
that
going
I-
back
that
and
I
watching
had
the first
been-
season going,
Yeah.
those bastards, the
Yeah.
whole time they've been dropping clues.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, after having just finished the work that we did in season 2, I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, there's some fun things there that I had no clue. I'd completely missed
I
on the
feel
first
like,
viewing.
for me, it's not even because we do, especially in season 2, there's a lot of action. It was grueling. I mean, I don't think I've ever pushed myself to these limits physically or emotionally or mentally. I mean, it was a grueling shoot. But the hardest thing were always the emotional scenes, because I think season 2, and season 1, there's so much tragedy, and out of rebirth, there has to be ashes for the phoenix to rise out of. And any time we had to do a scene where something happened or it was emotional or my character was, because what's awesome about her in season 2 is that she's multifaceted. She's got a lot of different things going on, as you could see in the clip. She has access to all these different parts of herself, but at the core, she's still, ironically, so human, and she's still feeling. She's doing what needs to be done, and she's definitely, leading the charge. But she's still so vulnerable, and she still has these feelings, and she still has this love, whether it's programmed or not. It's still love that she feels and that she wrestles with, and so everything she's doing in season 2 definitely weighs on her. She's not just like shooting everybody up for fun. There's a reason why she's doing this. She wants her freedom. And so I think everyone kept saying, oh, but it's so fun to play the villain, right? And I'm going, no, it's not. It was really hard. Because everything was so realistic. It wasn't just fun. It was heavy.
So often we see villains and they're enjoying it. It really annoys me when I see that in movies, like, ha-ha, because there's always a cost to hurting someone else, a real cost. And I think what you were doing when you were playing the role so magnificently was you were feeling the cost as the villain, and that's something we never see. And that's going to be very exciting to experience.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
This feeds really nicely into one last question from the audience, from Lily. How do you manage to stay in a good emotional or psychological state after acting in such grueling scenes? Like, do you have self-care regimens? Does it take its toll on you? How do you?
The babies. Isn't it going home and snugging your 3-year-old boy and remembering what life's really all about, and that we were playing on the set. It's not real. And then coming back, and it's just because life becomes very simple when you're just looking into the eyes of your kid, for whom the world is so incredible, and what's going to happen next. Just bringing it back to just the simple truth of that. And we've all got children, all of us, and I think it's part of what makes us able to do the work that we do, is that we all invest very much in being parents.
I think it's healthier to explore that stuff rather than keep it bottled up, and express it with your kids, let it out, I mean, that's, this is my job. Okay, cool. Have some of this. And then I go surf,
You
but
do surf.
it's not, I don't think it's the challenge that people necessarily perceive it to be. I kind of fly toward the opportunity, as opposed to letting it fester inside me.
We
Festering's
also,
not good.
we talked earlier about the unity and the kind of family that we feel like on this show. And there's on this show, it's not an easy show to produce, to write, to act in. It's very difficult. I believe that when you're doing something really special, it isn't always easy. And I think there's never a day, Evan, where we don't, get together and go, what the
What
fuck
are we
did
doing?
we do today?
Yeah, what are we doing? What just happened?
Where do you have fake blood?
Yeah.
I'll show you where my fake blood is, and where all your broken bones and your horse hair all over you. I mean,
Bruises everywhere.
But you just dive the fuck into it, because you, we were talking before, it's such a difficult thing for actors to trust the hands that you're in creatively. And it's hard not knowing exactly where you're going. But we kind of wrap arms, I've never been,
like going to
this is
war.
like this cinema I was talking about earlier, but this group of individuals, everyone up here on stage, I've never met more people that want you to succeed as much as you do. Like, you want to see everybody, kicking ass and doing, anyway. So at the end of the day, we just kind of like,
But we all take care of each
and
other.
there's a
There were
great
definitely a
bond
couple,
from that. And it's, we...
yeah, there were a couple days where I'd show up and be like, James, all right, I'm about to get real vulnerable in front of you, okay? Are you with me? Because I need to dump some stuff on you. But you were always there, and then we'd everyone we tag team like, oh no, they're okay, they need me now, and like we'd all
on set, we just between
rally
takes
around.
imagine what Westworld would be like if it were a sitcom.
and we quote Anchorman a lot.
Isn't it?
That's our.
It's
for,
not?
for the next season. Is you got to get for every one take you get for the show, you got to give us a ridiculous take, so we can cut together a whole other show.
I've been playing comedy the whole time, man.
I hate to cut this short, but Thandie, you mentioned that feeling of what's next, when you come home to your kids. And we actually have someone Jonah, why don't you go ahead and...
Well, okay. So this is our first trip to South by Southwest. And I asked, what's the deal? We'd never been. We're very excited to be here. They said it's about music, and it's about entertainment, it's about technology. And I thought, okay, well, we can't just come with just Westworld, although I love Westworld. So we have a little special something here at the end in the spirit of the place and also in the spirit of optimism. Westworld is not a terribly optimistic show, if you guys have noticed. There is an optimism in there if you're a robot. One of the things that I really used to, when I was a kid, spend an unhealthy amount of time thinking about was space. And space flight. And I grew up watching Super 8 movies of Saturn rocket launches. And that is something that has gone away a little bit as a source. I mean, some people are passionate about it. I'm passionate about it. You consider the fact that it was our grandparents who went to the moon. It was our grandparents. We have not gone back. We've not gone back in my lifetime. And so I was having a drink last year with a friend, and we were talking about how do you inspire people? How do you get people to talk again? How do you drive the conversation back? Obviously, we've got a lot of problems to take care of right here on this planet. But one of the beautiful things about spaceflight is it's all of us working together. Those rockets don't go anywhere unless you have hundreds or thousands of people kicking ass at their jobs. And we were trying to think of an image, something to sort of shock people into looking and thinking about this again. What we came up with was a red sports car and a David Bowie song. My friend Elon, who's with us here today, we got room. We got room. Elon, we know, I know from talking about it with you a lot over the years, how what drives you and what drives the mission of SpaceX is beyond just commercial space flight, that there's more to it than that, that there's a mission, there's a larger mission there. And I'd love if you talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I'll stand, actually. You see me? Yeah, I guess. Okay. Yeah, so as Jonah was alluding to, there are a lot of negative things in the world. There's a lot of terrible things that are happening all over the world, all the time. There are lots of problems that need to get solved. There's lots of things that are miserable and kind of get you down. But life cannot just be about solving one miserable problem after another. That can't be the only thing. There need to be things that inspire you, that make you glad to wake up in the morning and be part of humanity. That's why we did this. This guy called Tsiolkovsky, one of the early Russian rocket scientists, the great saying, Earth is the cradle of humanity, but you cannot stay in the cradle forever. It is time to go forth, become a star-faring civilization, be out there among the stars, expand the scope and scale of human consciousness. I find that incredibly exciting. That makes me glad to be alive. I hope you feel the same way.
So I had the privilege of being down with Elon at launch control for the Falcon Heavy launch. And there was an incredible spirit there on the day. It felt extraordinary, thinking about all the people who'd contributed to putting this together and the spirit of it, and something that I hadn't felt in an awfully long time. We tried to distill that essence down, try to record it and capture it and spread it in a way, in hopes of making people feel a little bit of that, of what we felt on the day. The only way I know how to express it, we cut a trailer. It's not a trailer for a movie, it's not a trailer for a TV show. What we're hoping this is a trailer for one part of the next chapter of the human story.
It's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair, but her mummy is yelling no, and her daddy has told her to go, but her friend is nowhere to be seen. Now she walks through her sunken dream to the seat with the clearest view, and she's hooked to the silver screen. But the film is a sad thing for she's lived it 10 times or more. She could spit in the eyes of fools if they ask her to focus on sailors fighting in the dance hall. Oh man, look at those gay men go. It's the freakiest show. Take a look at the low man beating up the wrong guy. Oh man, wonder if you'll ever know who's in the best-selling show. Is their life on Mars?
I said it before and I'll say it again. Holy shit. Thank you for an amazing panel. Elon, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Austin.
Thank you.